पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्ददामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्. By the infinite grace of Sri Lord Krishna and Sri Ramakrishna, we are continuing to study the Bhagavadgita. We are in the 4th chapter. We have completed the shloka number 21. Nirashir yatachittatma tekta sarva parigraha shariram kevalam karma kuruvan apnoti kilbisham. The characteristics of a jnani, one who has realized the Atman or Brahman, are being described in these beautiful shlokas, and he also performs actions, but in a very excellent way, without any attachment, and also the aversion, without raga and dvesha. Krishna continues to describe the state of that realized soul. Nirashihi, without desires. Yata chittatma. Chitta here means the mind, Atma means body and the senses. He controls his mind and the body. Tekta sarva parigraha. The possessions, accumulation of the objects of desire or the objects of the enjoyment is called parigraha. He has given up all kinds of possessions. Sarva parigraha, without any exception. Kuruvan karma kuruvan, he is continuing to do actions, but kevalam karma. This is very important. Shariram kevalam karma. He is doing only the physical actions. Mentally he is completely detached. He has no trace of agencyship. He has no desire for the results of the work. Only for the onlooker he seems to be doing the work. Shariram kevalam karma kuruvan, and such a person will not occur any sin or the contaminant. When we do actions, if we are full of desires, we will incur what is called sin not because of our actions, but because of our attachment to the results and also the identification with the agencyship. I am the doer. That egoism and the desire for the results will make us bound to the samsara, the transmigration of the birth and the death. And that is what is called sin here. There is no special sin one incurs if we do a proper actions. The actions prescribed by the scriptures. But if you have the agencyship, if you develop desires for the results of the action, you will be born and again. That is called samsara. Samsara has its origin in avidya, that is ignorance. So several times this sequence is repeated in these classes. Avidya, asmita, avidya, kama and karma. Avidya leads to kama, the desires. The desires leads to karma, the actions. And in karma, it leads to recurrence of the birth and death. Because one has to enjoy the results of the karma, it is not possible for one to enjoy the results of the karma in a single birth. Krishna continues to describe the characteristics of the realized soul who has not stopped the work. So there is a wrong assumption even among the scholars that Shankaracharya advocates stoppage of all the works after the realization of Brahman or the God. It is not true. What he meant is the work done by the realized soul can no longer be called the work, because the ordinary work involves desires and the sense of agencyship, but in the work of a realized soul, there is only physical work, as Krishna just described. We have read it. Shariram kevalam karma. There is no agencyship, there is no desire for the results at all. So it cannot be termed as a work in ordinary sense, because the realized soul his mind is always fixed on the Atman. His mind is engrossed in the bliss of the Atman. Atmanyeva atmana tushtaha. So the characteristics of the realized soul, Krishna is continuing here in the 22nd shloka. Yadrucha labha santushtaha dvandvatitaha vimatsaraha samas siddhava siddhaucha krutvapi na nibadhyate. Yadrucha. Yadrucha means whatever has come for unasked for. When we do work, the desires are the triggering factor, instigator for us. We want something, we engage in the work. But in the case of a realized soul, it is not so. There is no motive in his work. If there at all there is a motive, it is loka sangraha, that is the welfare of the whole world. So he is satisfied with whatever comes. Yadrucha, santushtaha, labha santushtaha. Labha means gain. Suppose he performs a work, his primary function for the sannyasin, the jnani, is begging. When he goes for begging, if he gets alms, he is satisfied. And even when he gets alms, whatever comes in the form of the begging, it may be coarse food, it may not be palatable, it may be a dirty food, he will be satisfied. So that should be applied to all his actions. Whatever he does, he is satisfied with whatever comes to him as a result. It may be good, bad, ugly, or whatever it is. This is the meaning of yadrucha labha santushtaha and dvandvatitaha. We have read about dvandvas in the 2nd chapter. Sukha Dukkha Same Krutva Labha Labhau Jaya Jayau. Three sets of the Dvandvas are enumerated in the second chapter. Sukha Dukkha, Labha Labha and Jaya Ajaya. He transcends the Dvandvas. It is not the tolerating the Dvandvas. It is not the Sahana. It is transcending the Dvandvas. Transcending the Dvandvas means he is always identified with the Atman, which is Dandvatita. By identifying with the Atman, Brahman or the God, always experiencing the consciousness of God, he has transcended the dualities of this world. So in the time of the difficulty, he doesn't feel this suffering. In the time of the enjoyment, he doesn't feel the happiness at all. So this is how we have to understand the word Dvandvatita. And he has no jealousy, no enmity with anyone. Vimatsaraha, Vigata Matsaraha, Vimatsaraha. Samas Siddhava Siddhavcha. Siddhi means acquisition or the gain in something. So when we are in an enterprise, so when we are doing something, so there may be a beneficial result for us, that is called Siddhi. When we don't get the beneficial result, that is called a Asiddhi. Suppose the student passes the examination, that is called Siddhi. If he doesn't pass the examination, that is called a Asiddhi. But student cannot remain equal-minded, cannot maintain the equipoise when he fails the examination. But the realized soul, in the time of Siddhi and Asiddhi, in the time of achieving a result or not achieving it, he remains same, he maintains his equipoise. And there will be no turbulence in his mind at all, because, as I have told you repeatedly, he has become Atman itself. There is no difference between the knower of Atman and the Atman. Atmavid Atmaiva Bhavati, Upanishad says. Brahmavid Brahmaiva Bhavati. The knower of Brahman becomes the Brahman itself. The knower of Atman becomes Atman itself. There is no difference between Brahman and the knower of Brahman, and there is no difference between Atman and the knowers of the Atman. Because what we call Brahma, Brahman, Atma, and the God are the states of consciousness, states of a supreme consciousness. The God is an experience. God is not a person in the Vedanta. Samas Siddhava Siddhavcha. So when you are in that state, even if you do the work, you will not be bound. Krutvapi na nibadhyate. Even he performs actions like ordinary people, he will not be bound, because his actions are not instigated by avidya, the desires, etc. It is the ignorance and the desires that binds a person, that instigates a person into what is called kamya karma, the actions done with desire. But in his case, he is completely detached. So there is no bondage for him, there is no recurrence of birth and death in his case. He is completely free. So Krishna continues in the shloka number 23, Gata sangasya muktasya jnana avastita chetasaha yajnaya acharatah karma samagram praviliyate. Gata Sangha. As we have learnt in the previous verses, though he is performing work, what we find him inherently is the absence of the work. That's what Sri Shankaracharya says in the introduction to this sloka. So though he is performing work, there is an absence of the ordinary type of work. That is how we have to understand. Karmani abhipravrittasyape naiva kinchit karoti. He doesn't do any kind of action from the worldly point of view, because he has no sense of agencyship and he has no desire for the results of the work. He is not at all even attached to the work he is doing. So the kind of karma bhava, the absence of work, is what we find in that great being, great soul. Such a person is referred to here as Gata Sangha. Shankaracharya beautifully describes it as Nivrutta Asakti. In the ordinary people, we cannot engage in any work without attachment. But in the case of the realized soul, every action is done without attachment. Why Krishna gives an elaborate description of the characteristics of the realized soul? Because it is for us, the sadhakas, to follow them. So these are all the characteristics we should take as sadhana, the elements of practice. We should also learn to work without attachment. We should give up the desire. We should give up our identity with body and mind, and we should work with unselfish motive. These are all some of the lessons we had to learn by reading the Gita, how to do work. Gata Sangasya Sarvataha Nivrutta Asaktehe. These are all the simple Sanskrit. All kinds of asakti, the attachment or the desires, clinging to the results of the work, have been given up by the realized soul or the jnani who is continuing to do work. Gata Sangasya Muktasya. Shankaracharya says both dharma and adharma are the causes of bondage. And he has given up both dharma and adharma, righteousness and also non-righteousness. Often we are asked to give up the non-righteousness, the evil ways of doing karma or the action. But when we want spiritual evolution, spiritual progress, we have to give up even the righteous actions. Because the righteous actions also involve agencyship as well as the desire for the results of the actions. These are the two elements that bind the person into samsara or the transmigration. The very fact that we are desirous of the results and we are clinging to the agencyship of the work, saying that I am the doer, that means we are still in ignorance. Vedanta is not limited to giving up of the unrighteousness or the sin. Vedanta wants every one of us to give up the very agencyship of the work. I am not the doer. Only the nature is doing its work. Nature in the form of the body and mind, which is doing the work. We have already read the shloka. Guna guneshu vartante. Gunaha means the three elements: sattva, rajas and tamas, they are in the form of the senses. They are interacting with the objects of the senses. The hearing, seeing, etc. The object of hearing, shabda, object of seeing, the form, they are also made up of the three gunas, prakriti. My senses are also made up of the three guna. It is just nothing but the interaction between guna and the guna. Guna guneshu vartante. So Atman has nothing to do with that. This kind of idea, this kind of realization, this kind of understanding is the liberation. What we have to liberate from is from the ignorance that I am the doer. I want something, I need something, the desire for the results of the action, and the sense of agencyship by identifying with the body and mind. So the realized person has given up this, gata sangasya, muktasya. So his whole mind is engrossed in the consciousness of Atman. Jnana avastita chetasaha. Jnana avastita chetasaha. Avastita means totally fixed, totally established in jnana, in the knowledge of God or the knowledge of Atman. What is Atman and God? It is my own consciousness. He is established in the true knowledge that I am not different from the God's consciousness. I am not different from the pure consciousness. I am not body, I am not mind. In that state, whatever work is done cannot be called a work in the ordinary sense at all. Because he always remains in that supreme consciousness. Nana avastita chetasaha. He is always established in jnana alone. Sri Shankaracharya remarks here. Jnane eva avastitaha chetaha. His mind is always engrossed in the consciousness of the God. This is a lesson for us. We can practice this while we are engaged in action, karma yoga. Our mind should be fixed on God. Our actions should be dedicated to God. The hand should work, but the mind should be in God, engrossed in God, devoted to God. And what is the purpose of his work? Yajnaya acharataha karma. His whole actions are devoted to yajna, performance of unselfish work, for the loka sangraha, as we have already read, for the welfare of the world. There is no selfishness at all, there is no desire at all. The another meaning of yajna is Vishnu. Yajno vai Vishnu. Shankaracharya is very fond of quoting quite often. So all his actions are dedicated to the God. Yajnaya vai charataha, acharataha. He is performing all his action for the sake of yajna, for the sake of God, nothing for himself. In his case, karma samagram karma praviliyate. All the works melts away. So there will be no difference between jnana and the karma at all. In ordinary sense, karma means distinction. Karma means dvaita. I am the doer. And there is an object. And I am interacting with an object. That is called karma. But in his case, all this duality will merge into one pure consciousness, Brahmic consciousness. That is what is melting of all kinds of karma into pure consciousness. Shankaracharya defines samagra as agrena palena vartate iti samagram, along with the results of the action. There will be no results at all. In other place, Shankaracharya says, suppose a person has commenced his work with desires in his mind, and slowly he becomes a jnani. He matures himself by getting the chitta shuddhi or the purity of mind. He slowly enters into the state of jnana nishtha, one who is established in jnana. What happens? He need not stop the work. He need not give up the work. Let him continue to do the work. But all attachments will go away. All the desires will go away. And there will be no result-oriented work at all. That will not become a result-oriented work. That is just the work. That is the knowledge in the form of the action. Actions without any kind of distinction. Because for Jnani everything is Brahman and a Atman. That is the meaning of the melting away of all kinds of karma, all kinds of distinction, all kinds of desires, all kinds of agencyship that I am the doer will melt away into supreme consciousness. That is what is called Brahman. How it happens? Acharya or Krishna describes in the next shloka. That is very well known to us, especially the devotees of the Ramakrishna Math and Mission. And we recite it every day before our meals, afternoon and the night. Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagnau, Brahmanahutam, Brahmaiva tena gantavyam, Brahma karma samadhina. When a realized soul who is established in supreme consciousness of the Brahman is performing the work, what will happen? What is that state to be called? How to describe it? This shloka beautifully describes it with allegory of the yajna. Why the example of the yajna is taken? Because the yajna is considered to be the purest of the action. Afterwards we will read some shlokas which will indicate that we have to transform every one of our actions into yajna. Yajna means dedicated actions, giving up of the egoism, giving up of the results, continuing to do work dedicated to God, with the consciousness of the God. The highest work is Brahma Yajna, where everything becomes Brahman. That is the type of work performed by the realized soul, Jnani. So he is doing a yajna now. The allegory of yajna can be applied to every action. Suppose the Jnani is dressing the vegetables. I have already given the example of Ramana Maharshi. Ramana Maharshi used to dress vegetables in the kitchen in the morning. What kind of work he was doing? He was doing Brahma Yajna. The knife is Brahman, the vegetables is Brahman, he himself is Brahman, the act of dressing also is Brahman, everything is Brahman for him. No distinction, no distinction, no duality, no sense of duality. Everything is pure consciousness for him. Don't think just by giving the example of yajna, other actions are excluded. No. In fact, the highest type of action, the example of the highest, the purest, noblest form of the action is given here. That noblest of the action is yajna. What is the ladle through which one performs the yajna? One who throws the ghee or the clarified butter into the fire. What is that? That is Brahma. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Brahma Arpanam, the offering is Brahman. Here the commentators, including Shankaracharya, says Arpana means through which the offering is done. That is the ladder or the spoon through which the clarified butter or the ghee is offered to the Agni. And who is offering? Brahmavit, the knowers of the Brahman, is offering. So Brahma Arpana, the ladder or the spoon is Brahman. And Havihi, with the very offering, what is that? It is not distinct from the ladle. There is no ladle there, there is no spoon there, there is no havis is there. Offering, what are you offering? In the ordinary yajna, we are offering the clarified butter or the ghee. Here, havis itself is Brahman. Havis also is Brahman. The offering also is Brahman. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi. You are giving the offering to Agni in the ordinary yajna. This is not an ordinary yajna, as I told you, it is Brahma yajna. What is Agni here? Agni is also Brahman. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagnau. Agni is also Brahman. When we say Brahmagni, it is not Agni which we are speaking here, we are speaking of here. It is Brahman. When we say ladle or Arpana, it is not Arpana about which we are talking about. It is about Brahman. When we say it is Havis or the offering, it is Brahman. Brahman is, and who is offering? The officiating priest or the Yajamana, one who is conducting the yajna, he is called Yajamana. On his behalf, the priest are offering the butter, clarified butter, into the Agni. That is the seed you will find in the ordinary yajna. And who is offering in the Brahmacharya? Who is doing the action of offering? He is also Brahman. Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagnau. And who is offering? Brahmanahutam. Offering is done by the Brahman itself. There is no sense of the agencyship at all. I am the doer, I am the performer. There is no distinction of through which the offering is made, to which offering is done. No distinction, no duality. Everything is Brahman. If we are not able to imagine the yajna, because the yajna, homas are all outdated now, just imagine Ramana Maharshi is dressing the vegetables. For him everything is pure consciousness. And Sri Ramakrishna is doing some work. For him everything is mother, mother, mother. Mother, the pure consciousness. Not just the Mother Kali, Mother Durga, pure consciousness in the name of Kali, Mother. Sri Ramakrishna, imagine Sri Ramakrishna is doing his karma yoga constantly, uninterruptedly. He is teaching his disciples and the devotees in the small room in Dakshineshwar. That is the karma yoga he is doing. For him it is Brahma Yajna. Everything is consciousness. There is no agencyship. There is no need of a desire for results. Everything is God and God alone for him. And where he will go, what he will attain, that realized soul. This is the description of the Jivan Mukta. He is still living in the body and continuing to do work, even though he is a realized soul, realization of God, realization of Brahman, realization of Atman are one and the same. Where he would go? Where there is need to go, he has already attained. But in the figurative sense, Krishna says in the Gita, he should go to Brahma alone. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. There is no other way. He should reach only Brahman. Why? It is because he is fully concentrated in the Brahma karma. Brahma karma samadhina. That realized soul is called the Brahma karma samadhi. One who is completely engrossed. He is fully concentrated. That is the meaning of the samadhi. On which or in which he is concentrated? Brahma karma. Brahma yajna. What are the signs of the Brahma yajna or the Brahma karma? Where the whole work is transformed into Brahma. All the components are the Brahma alone. Nothing other than Brahma. That is called Brahma karma. Where the ladle is Brahman, where the havis, the clarified butter is Brahman, the giver, one who is offering is Brahman, and into which he is offering is also Brahman. Everything is Brahman. And his Gantavya Sthana, his where he would reach. When you do ordinary yajna, you will go to Sarga or the lokas prescribed for that particular yajna. But through this yajna, where he would go? He need not go anywhere, because he has already attained that status. But still figuratively, Krishna says, he should go to Brahman alone. He should reach Brahman alone. Swami Tapasyanandaji beautifully translates Brahma karma samadhina as one who has this absorption in work as Brahman. Absorption. That is the beautiful translation to Samadhi. I am absorbed in God. I continue to do the work. I have no desire for the results. I have no identification with the doer. I am not the doer. Everything is done by God. In my mind only God exists. But still I continue to do the work. I don't stop the work. In Gita there is no description, that there is no instruction to the even to the jnani to give up the work. Gita only asks us to give up the attachment to the results. Gita only asks us, instructs us to give up the result of the agent, give up the agencyship, doership of the action. That's all. Gita will never instructs to give up the work. That point should be understood very thoroughly, emphatically. That is why the allegory of the work is given. A work called yajna is given to describe the state of the realized soul who is in consciousness, full of consciousness, in and through. It is just like a pot full of water is immersed in the water. Inside water, outside water. Swami Vivekananda describes it as within and without. So inside the mind, full of consciousness. Outside, the world is also consciousness. There is nothing else other than consciousness. Sarvam Brahmamayam Jagat. So all actions are the expressions of that consciousness. All actions are the expressions of that God's consciousness, Brahmic consciousness. That is called the Brahma Karma. One who is absorbed in that karma is called Brahma Karma Samadhi. So through such action, that person cannot go anywhere. No result-oriented lokas, no result at all. No result is needed for him. He need not go to any loka. He has nothing to gain. Because he has already become the Brahman. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. By one who has this absorption in work as Brahman, by him, Brahman alone should be reached. There is no other goal for him. So this is a wonderful verse. We cannot understand it by reading peripherally. We have to go very deep and try to understand it by constant meditation and contemplation on this sloka. So that is why in the centers of the Ramakrishna mission, Ramakrishna Mat, the monks and the devotees chant this. Food is not just an ordinary food, it is prasada. When it is prasada, it is full of consciousness of God. We partake prasada which has come from the God. That means it is not different from the God. So we, the eaters, are Brahman, the God. The process of eating is also God. The food we eat is prasada, that is also God. The whole act of eating is also God. The eating becomes an yajna there. Eating becomes a sacrifice there. Eating becomes a holy act, very pure act, just like yajna. So when we can transform the act of yajna, act of eating, lunch or dinner into a kind of yajna, Brahma yajna or the Brahma karma, if we can absorb ourselves in that action with the consciousness of God, in that very ordinary work like the eating, the hidden message is every work should be transformed into Brahma yajna or the Brahma karma. Just like the realized soul about whom a beautiful description is given, all our actions can be transformed into yajna. The goal is Brahma yajna or the Brahma karma. where everything becomes consciousness for us. Pure consciousness. Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya. We are serving the patients as doctors. The act of serving becomes Brahma karma. The act of consciousness, the activities where God only is involved, nothing else. I am not treating the patient. I am treating the God himself. I myself is God. So God is treating the God. The act of treating also becomes the God. There is no distinction. There is no discrimination. There is no duality. So my treating of the patient becomes God itself. Brahma karma samadhi. So I will be fully concentrated that the act of Brahman, Brahma karma, where everything is Brahman. Suppose I am a teacher. I am teaching the students. The students are gods. The act of teaching is God. And I myself, without any attachment, without any selfish desires, I am pure consciousness, God, godly like. So where there is action, no action, everything is consciousness. That is the highest mode of doing every action. That is the highest realm, highest stage of doing the action. You will not find such a highest idea of selfish work, selfless work, dedicated work, of seeing everything as Brahman, everything as God, anywhere in the world. That greatest ideal, Bhagavadgita is presenting before us. Make everything God. God in everything. Isha vasyamidam sarvam. See everything. See God in everything. In good, see God. In bad, you see it. In ugly, you see God. In misery, you see God. In suffering, you see God. In enjoyment, you see God. In happiness, you see God. Every action, every object becomes God. Because I am God. I am not different from this existence which is God. Gita and the Upanishads say in unison, present this great ideal, Atmanyevatmana tushtaha, Sarva bhutastam atmanam, Sarva bhutani chatmani ikshate. He sees himself in others, in every creature, in every object. And he sees every object and every creature in himself. That means there is no difference between me and the whole creation, whole existence. This is the greatest of expansion of the human consciousness. Now my human consciousness is very limited, confined to body and mind, my own body and mind. I am 5 feet 8 inches. Oh, I feel that my consciousness is limited to the body which is of the height 5 feet and 8 inches. No, you cannot confine, you cannot limit Atma, Brahma, God, consciousness, Chaitanya to the body which is limited. I cannot confine, I cannot imprison the consciousness to my mind which is also limited. I want to become infinite. I want to become everything. Sarvam abhavat. That is the greatest ideal you find in the Upanishad, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. The sage realized that he is Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi. What he gained? What is the result of that realization? He becomes all. Sarvam abhavat. He becomes everything. He becomes the star. He becomes the sun. No distinction at all. Star, sun, planets cease to exist for him. He sees only Atman. Everywhere he sees only God. He sees himself in everywhere. Atman sarva atmau pamyena sarvatra. So Gita and Upanishads present this great ideal of oneness with all in one, one in all. That is the greatest teaching of the Vedanta, as expressed through Bhagavadgita and the Upanishad. To achieve that, we have to consider every action as the yajna. Suppose we are worshipping the God, doing puja to a particular deity, that is a lower type of yajna. It is not Brahma yajna, but the lower type of yajna. But we should consider that worship as the yajna. As I told you repeatedly, in the act of yajna, it is a dedicated work. So we had to give up our egotism and we had to give up our attachment to the results. And we had to do that work in a very unselfish manner for the welfare of the world, for the benefit of others. We had to dedicate ourselves for the sake of good for the whole world. That is yajna. So even the small action, we should transcend it to the level of the realm of the yajna. And Krishna teaches that in the succeeding shlokas. Daivameva pare yajnam yoginaha paryupasate brahmagna vapare yajnam yajnena iva upajuhvati. Apare yoginaha. So what we have studied so far, that person is a realized soul. He is Brahma yogi. One who has realized the Brahman as its own Atman. And there are other yogis also of the inferior nature. They are not exalted as perfect as the Brahma yogi who can perform the Brahma karma or the Brahma yajna. Other yogis who have not yet attained that status also perform yajna. In yajna, they try to propitiate or offer oblations to particular deity. Apare daivameva yajnam paryupasate. The other yogins, they do yajna relating to devas. Daivameva. Daivameva here, deva yajna, pertaining to particular deities. So now I am performing a homa or yajna to propitiate Vishnu or Shiva or Indra or Ganapati. So these are the yajnas pertaining to propitiate or offer oblations to the particular expression of the Supreme Being. Here in this case it may be Ganesha, it may be Vishnu, or it may be Shiva. So I don't have the holistic, integral view of the Godhead here. I take a manifestation of the God and offer my oblations or the puja offering to him. That is the limited idea here. It's a kind of very limited idea. Just the worshipping the manifestation of the Godhead through yajnas. That is done by some yogis. They are also called yogis because they have controlled their mind or doing dedicated actions to the particular deity. That every deity is the manifestation or the expression of the Supreme Being, Supreme Consciousness. This is one example. Daivameva pare yajnam yoginaha paryupasate. Apare. Apare means the highest type of yajnas, yogins, about whom we have already described. That yogins who have realized their own Atman, Brahma yogins, and they do yajna in the Brahmagni. Agni itself becomes the Brahman. No separate description is necessary for this line because we have already read the Brahma karma. The same Brahma karma is referred to here in the second line. Apare yoginaha, other type of the yogis, the highest type of the yogis, the noblest type of the yogis do yajna in the Brahmagni. Brahman itself becomes the Agni. What they offer? They offer yajnam. Yajnam Brahmagnau upajuhvati. They offer, they sacrifice yajna in Brahmagni. Then what is meant by yajna here? It is very interesting. Here yajna means the individual Atman, individual soul. The individual soul which thinks I am limited to my body, limited to mind. I am such a person. I have these desires. I want to accomplish something. And such a limited expression of the Supreme Being. So in Vedanta, such limited form, limited expression. Atman is not limited, but the expression, the manifestation is limited. Just like the space is infinite, but space manifests itself as the space within the part. And that space within the part is called the Ghatakasha, space within the part. It is one of the expressions of the manifestation, limitation of the part. In the same way, the Supreme Consciousness, when viewed from the perspective of the body and mind, the limited expression of the Atman is called Jivatma. That is what is called yajna. Then what is yajna here? Offering our limitedness, our egotism into an Agni or the fire called the Brahma. Giving up our individuality. The individuality is the cause of all the suffering. That I am an individual, I am with the body, I am with the mind, I want something, that egotism, sense of agencyship. Where there is sense of agencyship, there is desire. Everything should be burnt. Where it should be burnt? In the pure consciousness. Who should do it? I myself should do it. Yajne naiva. Atman is the doer of the yajna here. Atman is offering, or the individual soul is offering. What he is offering? Himself he is offering. he is offering himself. His own individual entity he is offering. I am no longer the person who is limited to body and mind. I am offering myself into the yajna, agni, or the fire. What is fire? Brahma. The finite idea of finite merging into infinite. Understanding that I am infinite, I am no longer finite. I am not Jivatma, I am Paramatma. This is also a yajna. This is the understanding. This is the true awareness. Merging one's own limitedness, individuality into supreme infinite consciousness. This is the meaning of Brahmagna vapare yajnam yajnenaiva upajuhvati. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Rama Krishnarpanamastu.